It's time for Wes Strader's Sportsline on ESPN Radio 102.7. Sportsline is a locally produced sports talk show that focuses on high school and WKU as well as regional athletes who play at the next level. Sportsline was originated by Hall of Fame sportscaster Wes Strader. Now with a new version of Sportsline, here's Garret Browning on ESPN Radio 102.7.
Good afternoon to you sports fans. Welcome to Sportsline.
The Sportsline, Mondays 5 to 6, 102.7 FM and ESPN Radio 102.7.com. That's, of course, the legend Wes Strader bringing us in to the Wes Strader Sportsline. I'm Garret Browning, keeping the tradition alive at Garret Browning 5 on Twitter. If you want to reach out to me and send me a question, send me a rant, or call in 270-782-1945 because it is another Rant Monday. If you're a fan of basically any team from around the area, it was a rough weekend college football-wise for local Power 5 teams. Mississippi State 28-14 over the Cats. Tennessee, oh my gosh, talk about a dumpster fire. 34-3, they lose at Florida. Of course, Florida is top 10, but my goodness, 31 points on the road to a rival. U of L had opportunities against Florida State. Florida State got out to a nice early lead. U of L tried to come back, and Willie Taggart, he hangs on to one more week down there in Florida State. Honestly, it was tough to decide who to pull for in that game. I wanted to see Louisville get an ACC win with Coach Satterley, their new coach there, but man, I did not want to see Willie just tumble and fall through this season and get fired halfway through. So I'm glad Willie Taggart pulled out that win this weekend. Conference USA, Alabama beat up on Southern Miss. UAB, who are the Hilltoppers' opponent this coming Saturday. We'll get into more of that later in the program, as well as some breaking news on the WKU football front. The Blazers, 35-3 over former Sunbelt foe USA, South Alabama. North Texas blew out UTSA, the most impressive CUSA team of the weekend. Most likely was the Mean Green, I should say, 45-3. And Old Dominion had a chance to have one of the biggest upsets of the weekend. They led 17-0 at Virginia. This is a year after they defeated Virginia Tech in Blacksburg. Unluckily, though, Virginia was able to come out in the second half and really establish some dominance. 28 unanswered from the Cavaliers to come back and beat Old Dominion. But, man, what a performance from the Monarchs, a team that I think was kind of mid-level in the Conference USA, maybe even lower to mid-level, and all of a sudden you circle their names on the calendar a little more with that close game against the top 25 team in Virginia. But the big news from this weekend revolves around the NFL front. So many headlines. First off, some of these undefeated teams, just hard to believe. Jimmy Garoppolo and the Niners with Kyle Shanahan, 3-0. I think a lot of people thought they would be good this season, but they've gotten off to a great start. Matt LaFleur, former offensive coordinator for the Tennessee Titans, takes the head coaching job up in Green Bay. I got to be honest, when this one was first announced, I thought it was a weird pairing. A young, inexperienced head coach with a veteran quarterback like Aaron Rodgers, but so far, so good. LaFleur and the Packers are out to a 3-0 start after a win on the road against the Broncos. The Buffalo Bills are 3-0. No one circles the wagons like the Buffalo Bills. 3-0, Josh Allen. Man, Sean McDermott, they're getting the job done. They're going to have to take on the Titans here soon, and, oh, man, I do not want to play the Bills. The Titans, if you watched this Thursday night, honestly, if you didn't watch this Thursday night, good for you. You did not miss much. 20-7, Jacksonville over Tennessee. Gardner Minshew looked pretty good in that game, over 200 yards, 2 touchdowns through the air. But the big story was a muff punt in the first quarter, set up Jacksonville with an easy score to take a 7-0 lead. And from then on, it just felt like there was no chance Tennessee was going to play their way back into that game. We're definitely going to get more into the Titans and what to expect. Tannehill time? Who knows? Chiefs-Ravens was the big game over the weekend. The Chiefs 33-28. My goodness, Patrick Mahomes is on pace to basically break every passing record ever established whether it's through the first 3 games, whether it's through the first season or through the first 2 seasons. This guy is on pace to be the greatest quarterback of all time. That is no joke. He is lighting up scoreboards. Lamar Jackson hung in there for the Ravens, 22 of 43, 267 yards, no passing touchdowns, no interceptions, 8 carries, 46 yards, and a spectacular rushing touchdown to pull them within 1 score. But the Chiefs do stay undefeated, 3-0, 33-28. The Ravens take their first loss. And also new QBs this weekend. Daniel Jones, debuting against the Buccaneers, leads a game-winning drive. And, man, he silenced a lot of critics week 1. He looked like an NFL quarterback for the New York Football Giants. They pick up a big win over the Buccaneers. Kyle Allen for the Carolina Panthers. All this talk about how bad the Panthers are this season. Cam Newton's hurt. There's no way they're going to go to the playoffs. Granted, they did play the Cardinals this week, who had the number 1 pick last season, but 4 touchdowns for backup quarterback Kyle Allen. Maybe a little quarterback controversy brewing in Carolina. Hey, send Cam Newton Nashville's way. I'm okay with that. We'll take another injury-prone quarterback. At least this one can win some more games, right? Oh, I'm getting on a tangent already. Teddy Bridgewater as well got an opportunity this week for the New Orleans Saints to stay as their backup quarterback, starting in place of Drew Brees. Interesting situation for Teddy Bridgewater. He had the opportunity to leave this summer and be a starting quarterback for the Miami Dolphins, and clearly Teddy Bridgewater made the best career choice staying with the New Orleans Saints. He's getting that opportunity while Drew Brees has that thumb injury. Didn't necessarily put up amazing or great numbers throughout that game, but managed the game well enough to have them pull out a road win at Seattle. That should tell you all you need to know about what a performance it was, whether you put up 2 touchdowns or 0 touchdowns. To be able to manage a game in that atmosphere against that style of playoff caliber team says a lot about Teddy Bridgewater and that New Orleans Saints team. We'll take a break. When we come back, we're going to get into a little college football. We'll look around some of these Power 5 teams, what to expect from Kentucky moving forward, U of L, and what about Tennessee? Will they win another game this season? And, of course, the big matchup this weekend, UAB and Western Kentucky, Saturday from Houchins LT Smith Stadium. A reminder that tonight you can hear the Coach Tyson Helton show on Sam 100.7. You can actually go out and see it as well if you'd like to. Roosters has the site of the Coach's Show for the rest of the season, Mondays at 7 o'clock, just an hour after I'm off the airway. Tune it on to Sam 100.7 for the full get down from Coach Helton. And he dropped some big news on us earlier today. Stephen Duncan, who had a foot injury after the game against Louisville, we knew that he would be out at least what was at the time maybe 3 to 6 weeks. And as of today, Coach Helton announced that foot surgery has put Stephen Duncan out for the season. So the Hilltoppers starting quarterback through the first 3 games of the season is done. Now we have to move on and find another one. And you got a tough Conference USA opponent coming in this Saturday, so you got to be ready. 6 o'clock Saturday from the Houch. UAB is 3-0 on the season, currently a 3-point favorite, according to my Score mobile app. We'll get into all the college football next here on the Sportsline, 102.7 FM, ESPN Radio, 102.7.com.
This is a Morgan & Morgan consumer message.
Some people say bigger is better. When it comes to buying a home or an ice cream sundae, wouldn't you rather go big? Insurance companies think that because they're bigger, they can pay injured people less than what they really deserve. But guess what? We're big too. As America's largest personal injury firm, we know that our size matters. If you're going up against a big insurance company, you need a big firm fighting for you. If we win big, you win big. There's only one Morgan & Morgan. Offices, Bowling Green.
Hey, Bowling Green, Steve Russell here with Consignment World, and I'm wanting to let the ESPN listener family know that Consignment World wants your business. We also want you to know that we're not a typical consignment store. I think Consignment World is more of an ESPN kind of store, and by that I mean we cover a lot of ground just like ESPN does. First of all, we're not a clothing store. Our focus is on good, clean, used furniture, decorating accessories, collectibles, primitives, tools, even sporting goods. In fact, at the time I'm making this radio spot, I'm just finishing up a liquidation of a large fishing lure collection and also liquidating a lot of nice turkey calls and Turkey Federation decor from a world-renowned turkey caller. At Consignment World, we do estate liquidations as well, and that means we never know what's going to come in the door, making variety our feature. Hey, if you haven't visited with us before, we want your business. We're Bowling Green's best kept secret and hardest place to find. We're at 824 Broadway next to J.C. Kirby, 781-0009. Come see us.
In financial times like these, if you're successful running a business, you deserve the credit. And that's just what we give you with our MBC Business MasterCard. It's flexible, convenient, and helps you keep track of your company's expenses, all while earning points you can redeem for rewards. There's even no annual fee. This is Diane Woodburn with Monticello Bank. Stop by our new Fairview branch, located on the bypass next to Penn Station, and we'll be happy to help you apply today. Monticello Bank, where people matter. Member FDIC.
Don't forget your headboards, pillows, and your sheets. We got everything you need for a good night's sleep. Number one on the scene, check Best of Bowling Green.
All right. Hey! Twins, full, queen and king, mattresses for anything. Come and pick it out and we can bring it to your house. Have you sleeping real good before the weekend's out. Trim bedding. It's just like a mattress store. Hey.
Thanks to modern realities of speed and distraction, Interstate Highway Ditch can be yours. Here's how. Next time you're in a car and the driver's driving recklessly, simply say nothing. Ignore that little feeling in the pit of your stomach, and you too can experience Interstate Highway Ditch. Interstate Highway Ditch has been associated with rollovers, passenger ejection, and death. Passengers who wish to avoid Interstate Highway Ditch can do so by following simple steps, like speaking up and telling their friends to slow down.
There is no spokesperson to prevent reckless driving. There's only you. Speak up. This has been a message from the Ad Council.
Garret Browning here, 1027 FM, 1450 AM, and online ESPN Radio 1027.com. That's where you can hear the Sportsline Mondays 5 to 6, or check out all of our old podcasts, the Sportsline, Sports Web, Red Towel Radio, and our outdoor shows, Soki and Rockcastle Gun Show as well, can all be found at ESPN Radio 1027.com. Just click on that podcast tab. Local Sports Center update, Titans 1-2. They lost 20-7 to the Jacksonville Jags on Thursday Night Football. UAB and WKU this Saturday from the Houch at 6 o'clock. UAB 35-3 over USA. That is South Alabama. This weekend, the Tops, of course, had a bye week headed into that home game this Saturday. And finally, the weirdest sports story I've seen today, Houston quarterback D'Eriq King, who has thrown for close to 10 touchdowns, 2 interceptions on the season, has rushed for 300 yards through 4 games, which includes a 1-3 record, losses to Oklahoma, Washington State, and this weekend, where they gave up 24-3 in the second half to Tulane. That's what they were outscored in the second half on the road by the Tulane Green Wave to lose 38-31. Dana Holgorsen thought his quarterback, that is a 6th-round, 7th-round quarterback in the NFL draft at this point in the process, was going to transfer out of Houston following their loss, according to reports. But just hours ago, Houston football announced D'Eriq King will redshirt this season and be eligible for next season. So they're going to save their NFL prospect quarterback. They said 1-3, we're done. Put it away. Put this season in the bag. Let's save them. Let's bring them back next year. I mean, they're pulling a video game move to redshirt their star QB this season with a losing record and hold out the chips heading into next season. Dana Holgorsen already reaching deep into the bag for the Houston Cougars, off to a slow start, however. We're sticking with the college football landscape. We'll start with the Power 5 teams that showed up this weekend. The one that sticks out to everybody around this area would be number 9 Florida with a beat down on Tennessee 34-3. Jeremy Pruitt already on the hot seat. Butch Jones, we thought, look, I'll be honest, we thought Mike Sanford set the Western Kentucky program back a couple of years. I think Jeremy Pruitt and Butch Jones just sent the Tennessee program back into the dark ages. I mean, it's unbelievable what has happened to the Volunteers in just a short amount of time. I mean, yeah, Butch Jones, he never really got the job done, but at least they were always sitting in that 15 to top 40 team area. Now you could argue Tennessee is in that bottom half of the top 130 teams in college football. I mean, you could seriously argue that this team is atrocious. Florida beat up on them. UK went to Mississippi State and Starksville. I saw a lot of people picking Kentucky in this game, and that just really threw me off. I know Sawyer Smith has looked decent heading into this matchup against Mississippi State, but a road matchup in Starkville without your regular starting quarterback, that's a lot tougher than you're going to think it is. And Mississippi State 28-13 over the Cats. Smith was 15 of 41, 232 yards. That completion percentage, 36%. No touchdowns, 1 INT. They were able to run the ball a little bit, close to 160 yards running the football on just like 24 carries, but trying to throw the ball with Sawyer Smith and that air raid attack just did not work out well. Lynn Bowden, their NFL caliber receiver, looked decent when you look at the stats. 7 carries, 129 yards, 3 carries, 37 yards on the ground, but had a couple of big-time drops in that game, which led to Mississippi State controlling most of the momentum, pulling away 28-14. The final one is U of L, Florida State. Florida State is beyond in the doghouse. If they lost this game to Louisville at home, you could argue that Willie Taggart would not have his job by this Saturday. That's how slow of a start they have gotten off to this season. Their only win was against Louisiana Monroe. It was 45-44, and that was a home game to the Warhawks of ULM. That was their lone win coming into this Louisville matchup this Saturday, 35-24.
Bowling Green's ES.
Florida State was able to come away with the victory. Thank you, Tally, for keeping me in check there with Bowling Green ESPN Radio 102.7. Hornibrook, the former quarterback at Wisconsin who transferred into Florida State, he didn't win the starting job. Instead, it was Justin Blackman who had the job, James Blackman. Justin Blackman used to be wide receiver for Oklahoma State. James Blackman, who threw 14 passes before he was injured and put into the medical tent. And it was a slow going until Alex Hornibrook made his way onto the field for Florida State. 15 of 20, 255 yards, 2 touchdowns. Most of those all came in the second half for Florida State. I just can't ask enough from your backup quarterback to come into that situation and beat the Louisville Cardinals. And maybe Willie Taggart has found his guy moving forward. They've got another tough matchup this weekend versus NC State, a team that low-key is always on the perimeter of being an actual ACC championship contender. They always take 1 or 2 bad losses a season that kind of put them out of that contention, but NC State will head to Florida State this weekend. Now we'll transition into Conference USA. The Hilltoppers, obviously, with a bye week. It was a slow week in terms of Hilltopper football news. The Hilltopper volleyball team made a lot of news. We'll get into that, as well as the WKU soccer team with a double overtime thriller. But the Hilltopper football team is ready to get back on the field this Saturday, 6 o'clock. 1-2, they take on UAB, who is currently 3-0 on the season. We'll preview the Blazers in just a second, but looking at this Hilltopper team after the Louisville game, I've heard mixed feelings about Stephen Duncan and what he's done from the quarterback position. From my eyes, from what I've seen, I was decently impressed through the first 3 weeks. I thought week 1 was very rough, and I was almost ready to move on to Ty Story and say, hey, let's give this guy a shot. But he comes back week 2, makes some big throws against FIU, does give up a pick 6, but I mean, it was a one-handed SC top 10 interception. It's hard to throw that all on the quarterback and not give a little credit to the defender. And then against Louisville, the stats didn't look great in terms of completion percentage. He did have 3 touchdowns and over 200 yards, I believe. But what people need to look at in terms of completion percentage and production from Stephen Duncan is through the first 2 weeks of the season, the Hilltopper offense got Gage Walker going. The former defensive back turned into running back, who's just been a stud so far this season. He had a slow game against Louisville, easily his slowest of the season, 19 carries, under 50 yards. And what that forced Stephen Duncan to do is, they were basically telling Duncan, look, you have to beat us with your arm. And no, he didn't beat the Cardinals with his arm, but he did make a number of plays without having that balanced rushing attack to go along with it. He was set up in a couple of third and longs, situations, and I think he really improved from week to week in terms of what we wanted to see from our starting quarterback from the Hilltoppers. So it's really tough to get this news today about the foot surgery. We knew Duncan was going to be out a couple of weeks with this foot injury, but the surgery, after the surgery, it's reported that Duncan's going to be out for at least the rest of the season. So now you move on to the rest of the quarterbacks. Ty Storey was the consensus backup quarterback. It was Ty Storey and Stephen Duncan headed into the season. Who's going to be that number one guy? Now it's Davis Shanley, Kavaris Thomas, and Ty Storey, of course, had a little brain fart there. Ty Storey did have experience with the Arkansas Razorbacks starting in SEC competition. Granted, Arkansas, they're almost as bad as, Florida State and Tennessee. You could throw Arkansas in that mix as well after they lost to San Jose State this week. So what that tells me about Ty Storey is, he had some problems with the Arkansas team, but there were a lot of problems with that Arkansas team. It was far from all Ty Storey's fault. So I'm interested to see what he can do in this WKU offense. I believe he's going to be the starting quarterback headed into the UAB game. We have seen him a time or two come in this season, mostly for rushing plays, which I think is kind of weird because it seemed like Stephen Duncan was a little bit better rusher than Ty Storey, maybe just to surprise defenses. But now Ty is that guy. And I wouldn't be surprised if we saw Davis Shanley maybe come into the ball game. We've yet to really see Kavaris Thomas. I wouldn't mind breaking out a wildcat formation every now and then that's going to allow him to maybe throw a short pass. Just find some hitches in our offense to get our weapons the ball. We still have big weapons at the tight end spot. Isaiah Simon with a big touchdown, 80 yards for the Hilltoppers as a true freshman. And then you got Kyle Fortenberry, a guy that made John Mackey Award watch lists at the beginning of the season. Had a really nice game against FIU. You've got weapons on the offensive side. Gage Walker has stepped up when you need him to. I think this is a team that could legitimately contend in Conference USA. And here's the weird thing about college football compared to maybe the NFL or other sports is, the top start 1-2. And that doesn't sound pretty in the slightest. Who wants to be 1-2? But then you transition, you look at that conference standing, and you see 1-0 in the conference. And it changes your whole feeling on what this season could be for the Tops. I think a lot of people coming into the season felt 5 wins, felt 6 wins was going to be a decent season, but I don't think a lot of people expected 5 to 6 wins in the conference. I think people expected one of those wins, of course, to be against Central Arkansas. So if you can put up 5 to 6 wins in Conference USA, this is a team that's going to be near the top of their division, but it's going to be tough this Saturday. This is going to be their biggest test. We thought FIU on the road was going to be the biggest test. They lost their starting quarterback in that game, and it's kind of slowed down the Golden Panthers and maybe what they can accomplish on the season. Now you get a UAB team that is 3-0. They're coming off a dominant win over South Alabama, a team in the Sun Belt that's currently 1-3 and struggling, but still an FBS team that they beat by plus 30 points. The Blazers on the year, their schedule looks like this. Week 1, a win over Alabama State. It was close, 24-19. Then on the road at Akron, 31-20, of course, before coming home to South Alabama, 35-3. The big star for them in that South Alabama game was their quarterback. Tyler Johnston III, 22 of 27, 313 yards, 3 touchdowns, and 1 interception. They have that spread style offense as well, where they love to spread the ball around to a lot of different guys. They had 3, 6, 7 different players receive a rushing stat against South Alabama this Saturday. 5 of those guys got +5 carries. So they have a lot of different guys out of the backfield that can make some noise. And as far as their passing attack, they like to make big plays. Yards per completion is close to 15, 12 yards per completion for Tyler Johnston III. And that may not bode well for the Toppers. The one team that we saw throw the ball well this season was Central Arkansas. They put up +400 passing yards on the Tops at the Houch, mind you, and upset the Hilltoppers week 1. Now you've got a better opponent, a conference opponent that has a viable quarterback option, has a lot of guys in their rushing attack that can get to the perimeter and make plays on you. So this defense is going to have a big wake-up call this week. I thought they played decent against Louisville. I thought they could have played better, but that's a Louisville front that's going to take on Clemson, going to take on Florida State this week. Those guys have ACC matchups week in and week out, and it's tough when you get in the trenches against guys like that. And that's usually the difference in those games, is the defensive line and the offensive line mismatch in terms of Power 5 versus a mid-major. Now, granted, there are mid-major teams. The Hilltoppers have done it before, where they built an offensive line that can compete with those Power 5s, or a defensive line that can compete with those Power 5s, but it's incredibly difficult to do. For the Hilltoppers this week, Ty Storey is going to be the key. There's no question about it coming into that starting quarterback role. I said 2 weeks ago on Red Towel Radio with buddy Tyler Eaton, Thursdays at 5, that the key to the Louisville game was Gage Walker needed to be consistent running the football. He needed to have sort of the same numbers he had through the first 2 weeks, around 5 yards a carry, get him 15-plus touches, and if he has that 5 yards a carry, it's going to open up a lot for your offense. It didn't work out that way. Under 50 yards. He did get +15 carries, but held to under 50 yards. That's the key this week against UAB. UAB is going to score points. They have a big offense that can put points on the board. They've done it through 3 weeks. So your offense is going to have to respond at points, because you can't rely on your defense to just totally shut down a Conference USA offense. We've really yet to seen it in this conference. When you have these high-powered offenses that get these playmakers on the edge, they're going to make some big plays every now and then. Maybe they'll have a big touchdown. Maybe they'll have a big drive where they drive you down the field. But as a defense, it's turnovers, takeaways, maybe one quick 3-and-out here or there. And it could totally change this game around in terms of Tops versus the Blazers. Right now, I'm leaning the Blazers. I'll go ahead and give you my score prediction. UAB is favored 3. I really like UAB in this game. I think they match up well against the Hilltopper defense, and it just worries me coming in with a backup quarterback. You just don't know what you're going to expect from Ty Storey. I think this is a Topper team that is super capable of beating anybody in Conference USA. I believe that. I believe they've got the talent on the offensive line to hold up most of these pass rushers. I believe they've got the talent at wide receiver and running back to make those big plays. The question mark starts at quarterback. Can we deliver the ball to those playmakers to make the plays? And at defense, week 1 we sold out our pass rush and left corners on islands, and it burned us. And then you saw week 2, the pass rush looked really good. I mean, week 1, the pass rush looked decent as well. And week 2, the pass rush looked really good. Now it's got to step up to another level. You've got to be able to provide more and more cushion for your secondary guys that have struggled throughout the season to a certain extent. I think the top secondary is built on tackling. I think we've got really good tackling from the secondary. We've got taller corners. We've got athletic safeties. But in terms of pass coverage, these guys they've been beat this season. They've been beaten a couple of times. And this is a UAB ball that loves to spread the ball around. Similar to UCA, they're going to give you a lot of different looks in terms of running on the perimeter, running up the middle, jet sweeps, and then they're going to hit you with some big play action plays, and the defense is going to have to be ready. So 2 keys, defense, takeaways, quarterback, consistency. Ty Storey, just be safe with the football. Give me a couple of good early completions, get in that rhythm, and find yourself try and win that starting job completely, Mr. Storey, because there's going to be pressure on you as soon as you step in for that first possession on Saturday. People are going to say, hey, we've got younger quarterbacks that we could throw in there, and Davis Shanley played a little bit last year and looked good. We've yet to see Kavaris Thomas, so I hope Ty Storey will be able to answer the call and lead the Tops to a big Saturday victory, but give me the Blazers. I'll go 31-21 UAB over the Tops, but obviously I'm not picking from my heart there. I'm picking from my brain. When I come back, I'll do more picking from my heart. If you were listening to the Sports Web this Tuesday, I said Titans 28, Jags nothing on Thursday night. Boy, was I wrong.
Implement, you can get up to $3,000 off select John Deere Gators. You can even get 0% for 48 months if you want. During our Gear Up for Fall event, save like never before on everything from commercial zero-turn mowers to lawn tractors to compact utility tractors and more. Wright Implement is your one-stop source for everything John Deere. Offer ends 9/30/2019. Some restrictions apply. See us for details. Save today at Wright Implement. Online at wrightimp.com.
The U.S. Army is offering up to $65,000 in student loan reimbursement as a new enlistment incentive. The program is available for nearly 50 different occupations, covering both full-time and part-time careers in the U.S. Army and Army Reserve. The total amount of loan reimbursement varies depending on the length of the individual's enlistment contract. For more information, talk to your local Army recruiter or check us out online at www.goarmy.com.
What keeps you coming back to Fire Pit Spirits?
These guys always help me find just what I'm looking for.
Great customer service. I think every employee spoke to me. The owner or manager, I'm assuming, was very helpful in finding the perfect wine. He even carried my purchase out to my car for me. I was so impressed. Those small gestures will keep me coming back again and again.
Visit Fire Pit Spirits. You'll keep coming back too. The area's premier full-service wine and liquor store. Fire Pit Spirits, 1100 Happy Valley Road, Glasgow.
It's time for the Plum Springs Baptist Church 5th Annual Car Show, September 28th from 9 to 2:30. All makes and models, tractors, and motorcycles are welcome. Free entry, food and music, a live auction, and all donations will go to support their youth program. Plum Springs Baptist Church, 2080 Plum Springs Road. For more info, contact Jimmy Davis at 270-792-9353 or Jimmy Blankenship at 270-792-9947.
Sportsline, Mondays 5 to 6. Garret Browning here at Garret Browning 5. If you want to reach me on Twitter, shout out any questions, rants. You want to fix one of my mistakes I had earlier in the show, please do at Garret Browning 5. Follow at ESPN Radio 1027 for all your updates from our station here and all your Hilltopper local Commonwealth updates. Your local Sports Center update: Mississippi State over UK. In college football this weekend, Florida over Tennessee, big 34-3. Florida State 35-24 over U of L. UAB, who visit the Hilltoppers this Saturday at 6 o'clock, are 3-0, including a 35-3 beatdown of South Alabama this weekend. And finally, new QBs on the shine this weekend from the NFL. Daniel Jones leads the Giants on the road against Buccaneers, a game-winning drive, a 12-yard touchdown run with about a minute. I think it was 55 seconds remaining to be exact. Daniel Jones with a big debut for the New York Football Giants. Kyle Allen, who stepped in to replace the injured Cam Newton. Lots of questions. What will the Panthers be? They've been terrible through 2 weeks. They beat the Cardinals this Sunday, thanks in large part to The new QB Kyle Allen, 4 touchdown passes. Little QB controversy possibly in Carolina. And Teddy Bridgewater, glad to see him finally getting some more opportunities to start at the NFL quarterback position. Obviously, we remember that gruesome non-contact leg injury that kept him out close to 2 full years. Good to see Teddy Bridgewater back. He led the Saints on the road to a victory over the Seattle Seahawks. So shout out to our guy Teddy B. Louisville quarterback still getting it done. Lamar had a slower weekend, but when you take on the Kansas City Chiefs, a slow weekend could be 3 touchdowns and you still lose by 3 touchdowns. That's how good that offense is with Patrick Mahomes. You want to know how bad that offense is with the Tennessee Titans? Well, all you had to do was turn into Thursday Night Football live from Jacksonville, Florida. It was a snooze fest. We knew it was going to be a snooze fest coming into it. Obviously, Gardner Minshew at quarterback was probably the biggest storyline of that day because of what he had done the week before for Jacksonville, keeping him close in a game versus the Texans on the road in Houston, 14-13. Houston won thanks to a failed 2-point conversion. But on Thursday night, Gardner Minshew put up pretty big numbers, 20 of 30, 204 yards, 2 passing touchdowns. Maybe not big numbers, but efficient numbers to say the least. Marcus Mariota on the other side, 23 of 40, 304 yards, and the biggest stat of them all, he was sacked 9 times against the Jacksonville defense. A lot of that can go against the offensive line. A lot of that can also go against Marcus Mariota. That's been a problem the last 2 years. I think the last 2 years we wanted to blame it on the offensive line. You know, these guys aren't ready. You know, we're giving up way too many sacks. Now it's becoming more and more obvious that Marcus Mariota's just not getting rid of the football. You know, we've got playmakers, Delaney Walker, Jonnu Smith. You notice I call it we because that's how invested I am in the Tennessee Titans. Corey Davis, A.J. Brown, Derrick Henry. These are guys that deserve to get touches throughout the game, and if you get them the touches, they're going to come through for you. Receiving-wise, the leading receiver for Tennessee in that game was Adam Humphries, 6 catches, 93 yards, which was actually pleasant to see considering Humphries had been almost completely silent through the first 2 weeks from the Titans, the big free agent signing out of Tampa Bay this summer. It was the Titans in New England that were headed after Adam Humphries. Those were the 2 teams that were trying to sign him. So when Humphries came in, you felt like you had an every down slot receiver. Hopefully he's starting to fall into that role. But the big worrisome for the Titans statistics, only 7 of Marcus Mariota's 23 completions were to wide receivers. Look, in the NFL, you can use your tight end. He can be your leading receiver on the day, but you have got to be able to spread the field from sideline to sideline and throw the ball downfield every now and then. You know, most of Marcus Mariota's biggest completions on the season are screen passes that go for 30-plus yards, 20-plus yards. And that's not necessarily a bad thing, but every now and then you have got to spread the ball down the field. And it brings me to this question. Through beginning of the season, I didn't want to believe it. I really thought Marcus Mariota could be the quarterback for the Tennessee Titans. I thought it'd just been a rough year or two. Now through 3 weeks, I'm ready. I'm not going to say I'm ready for Tannehill time. I'm more just ready to see Marcus Mariota not in a Tennessee uniform. And that's not a knock on Marcus. I just think this relationship, it's not you, it's me. It's not you, Marcus, it's me. Some reason this isn't working out. And I think the biggest thing now is if Ryan Tannehill comes into the game for the Tennessee Titans, do you even want to think about putting Marcus Mariota back in? You know, I don't want to knock putting Tannehill in the ball game. I don't necessarily think it's going to win the Titans any more games than Marcus Mariota would, but Marcus Mariota has more trade value than Ryan Tannehill. And Marcus Mariota is a free agent this summer. And somebody's going to sign him. And I've said somebody's going to sign him for 15 to 20 million. I might have been reaching a little. So I don't know if anybody's going to sign him for that much, but somebody's going to take a risk on him. Somebody's going to sign him, and he's going to be their quarterback next season. What I want to see the Titans do is at least get some sort of value out of this. You know, if you're not going to re-sign this guy, which through 3 weeks they are absolutely not going to re-sign this guy, then try and trade him. Try and get some value from him. I don't think you're going to get a lot of value. I don't think it's necessarily a first-round pick value, but maybe a second or third-round pick, maybe a group of third-round picks. I'm not exactly sure. I'm not a GM. I know John Robinson's probably working the phones, trying to figure out exactly what he wants to do, because the last thing you want to do is just let this guy, you know, take $23 million or however much he's due for this season and then leave this summer and never really accomplish anything with him. One playoff victory, you know, that's great, but, you know, what did we really get out of it? We wasted a second overall pick for 5 years of mediocrity and then got no return back. That's the big issue to me, is we have to get some sort of return back to give us a little faith for the future. Because, look, there aren't a lot of teams that move on from a quarterback and are somewhat built to still win football games. You know, this Tennessee Titans team, I've made the statement and I stick by it. Put some respect on their defense. You know, they gave up 2 touchdowns, 200 yards to Gardner Minshew. One of those touchdowns came after a muff punt inside the 10-yard line. You know, so basically a free touchdown courtesy of your special teams. Very next play after the muff punt, play action pass, wide open in the end zone, touchdown. And I know that touchdown still goes against the defense. But if you take that muff punt away, Gardner Minshew has 180 yards and 1 touchdown. And what is the storyline then? You know, I get so much flack from a bunch of friends, from a bunch of fans of other teams that say, you know, the Titans defense isn't that good. Watch a game. Watch the Tennessee Titans defense on the field. Watch how they control field position, limit you in terms of how many touchdowns you can score. You know, if you are limiting teams to 20 points a week, 15 points a week, that's a good defense. That's a great defense in the NFL. But when your offense can only score 7, 10, 9, 12, I mean, how many times have we seen that in 3 years for the Titans? That's what they do. They score 15 points, and then they give you that fluke game. They put 40 on the Packers. They put 40 on the Patriots. They put 40 on the Browns. And then they go back to putting 10 points on the Bills. I don't want to put it on Mike Vrabel. I really like Mike Vrabel as the Titans coach. But what is going on with the atmosphere around the Tennessee Titans locker room that this team can have zero confidence after a game like the Cleveland Browns, lose a tough one to the Colts, have even less confidence going up against a Jaguars team that you've dominated the last couple of years? It's amazing. It's amazing. And the NFL is a weird animal, man. Anything can happen from week to week. You know, teams get upset all the time by teams that shouldn't win, and the Titans are the biggest proponent of that. You know, winning games they aren't supposed to win and losing games that they're supposed to win. As Stu Gotts put it on the Dan Le Batard show, it always leads to 8-8. And here I am, 19 years later, still ranting about the Tennessee Titans. Maybe we could put Eddie George's mentality inside of Derrick Henry's body. Bring back Michael Ruse, David Stewart. What's Keith Bullock up to, man? Keith Bullock could come help out. It's the Sportsline, ESPN Radio 102.7 FM, ESPN Radio 102.7.com. When I come back from this break, we've got Major League Baseball playoff push. In the past couple of years, I would have never touched this, but this year, this playoff race it's getting crazy. The NL wildcard race is wild. The AL wildcard race is wild. I've got my Tampa Bay Rays hat supporting them. Of course, we got the BG Hot Rod, so why not cheer for those Tampa Bay Rays, right? Come back with me, ESPN.
Did you know that wetlands are one of the world's most valuable places? I'm Morgan Freeman, speaking on behalf of Ducks Unlimited, the world's leader in wetlands and waterfowl conservation. Wetlands benefit everyone by filtering and cleaning our water. Wetlands trap and slow floodwaters. Wetlands provide you a location for hunting, fishing, boating, and a place to enjoy nature. Help Ducks Unlimited by supporting its Wetlands for Tomorrow campaign. Ducks Unlimited. Conservation today, wetlands for tomorrow.
Shh, listen. That's a bullfrog. What's that? A cicada. That's an owl. Wait, what's that?
Oh, the Camptown ladies sing this song. Doo-dah,
I think that's a donkey.
The swamp town mud hole stinks so strong. Oh, da doo da oh.
Shrek!
Hey, kids.
Hi.
That little cicada bug's got nothing on me, right?
Donkey, give the children a little space.
Oh, they got plenty of space, Shrek. Wide open forest space. Why you always telling me to calm down and be quiet? Give them space. Do I talk too much? I'm real good at being quiet. I'm quiet right there. Quiet again. Donkey quiet. Snail quiet. Turtle quiet.
Get out and explore nature. You never know what you might find. To learn more about all the fun stuff waiting for you outdoors, go to discovertheforest.org. That's discovertheforest.org. This message brought to you by the U.S. Forest Service and the Ad Council.
So, kids, you know some consider slugs a delicacy.
Ew!
You know that the ice cream scoop can make a child smile, and that by slowing us down, the traffic light can keep us going. You know that the lawnmower makes life easier, that the blood bank makes life possible. But did you know all these ideas came from the minds of African Americans? Support the United Negro College Fund, because a mind is a terrible thing to waste. Visit uncf.org or call 1-800-332-UNCF. Brought to you by UNCF and the Ad Council.
This is a Morgan & Morgan consumer message.
I'm John Morgan of Morgan & Morgan. An accident takes seconds to occur. Then what should take a great deal of time and research sometimes only takes a day. What lawyer should I hire? Sometimes the firm you hire does many things: bankruptcy, immigration, criminal defense, right there on their website. Would you hire a pediatrician to do your heart surgery? Of course not. This will be a life-changing decision, and all lawyers are not the same. Our firm is an open book. You know us by over 30 years of reputation. If you want to know what a case like yours may be worth, visit forthepeople.com and look at the offers made and verdicts returned by juries for cases like yours. Hundreds of them. The proof is in the pudding. Your lawyer may have never been to court, or rarely. And listen, just because you hired the wrong firm in a rush days after your accident doesn't mean you can't fire them before it's too late. Look before you leap. There is only one Morgan & Morgan. On your cell phone, dial pound law, pound 529. Pound law, that's all. Offices, Bowling Green.
Welcome back to the Sportsline, Mondays 5 to 6 on your airwaves, 102.7 FM, 1450 AM, and ESPN Radio, 1027.com. You can get our Listen Live tab and stream us anywhere with internet connection, or if you want to check out one of the older podcasts, just click on that podcast tab, click on the show, and you'll see all of our podcasts there. You can go back to last week where I talked about Antonio Brown. Should he be on the commissioner's exempt list? While the investigation currently had not started, but was about to be conducted, the sexual assault complainant, it's a civil lawsuit case, but the sexual assault complainant actually had her wedding last week. So the NFL could not investigate, could not interview the victim. They had to wait until this week, which, of course, we all saw the news. Antonio Brown, last week plays against the Dolphins, scores touchdowns, and then, well, they get to investigate, they get to interview, and, of course, he gets released. Seems a little weird how they handled that situation. We'll see how it all falls to be in the next couple of weeks. I've talked enough Antonio Brown already, so we're going to get away from that. Major League Baseball playoff push. Under 10 games left in the regular season, and both of the AL and NL wildcard races are extremely tight. From the AL, the Oakland A's currently have a 2-game lead on the Cleveland Indians, because the Tampa Bay Rays and Indians currently have the same exact record, 92-64. The Indians, I believe, currently do hold that tiebreaker I'll double-check that here in a second. But the Rays have a little bit of a tougher schedule than those Indians as well. They have the Red Sox tonight, Game 4 of a 4-game series. So far, it's 2-1 Rays. And then they've got to take on the New York Yankees, 2-game series before finishing with a 3-game series against the Toronto Blue Jays. Meanwhile, from the NL wild card, the Washington Nationals, who are down and out, have secured what looks to be that top spot in the wild card. Them and the Brewers, who miraculously, the Brewers, after losing Christian Yelich, have gone on a hot streak to almost solidify their spot in the wild card as well. It looked like the Cubs were going to be there. All of a sudden, the Cubs have lost 6 straight games. They are 4 games back of the wild card race. Looks like the National League playoffs could almost be set. Of course, all the divisions are set right now. Atlanta Braves out east in the Central, the St. Louis Cardinals, and out west, the L.A. Dodgers. For the AL, only 2 of the divisions have clinched thus far, the Yankees in the east, and out west, the Houston Astros, who are both battling for that number 1 spot in the AL, 102 wins apiece. The Astros currently have a game to play on the Yankees. The Twins hold on to that central spot, and it looks like they're going to have the Central Division unless the Indians really pick up the pace and the Twins really slow it down. But that's the hope if you're a Rays fan, man. Those Indians need to falter in Tampa Bay. Well, they got to take advantage of playing some divisional opponents. They have not fared well against the Yankees this season, so that 2-game series could all but decide their playoff hopes, man. They have got to win at least one of those games against the Yankees coming up in, I believe, 2 days is when that series starts again. Game 4, Reds and the Rays tonight. The Rays and the Red Sox, I should say. The Reds, the Cincinnati Reds, are off tonight. They are back in action on Tuesday. Reds and the Brewers at 5:40 Central Standard Time. Check out Marty Brenneman and Cowboy Jeff Brantley. Sonny Gray on the mound. What a year it's been for Sonny Gray. 11-7, a 2.8 ERA. The Reds, they played spoiler to the Cubs last weekend. Now they're going to try and play spoiler to the Brewers coming up this Tuesday at 5:40. Yeah, Tuesday tomorrow. That is September 24th. That's my birthday. Jordan year, baby. I'm 23 starting tomorrow, so wish your boy a happy birthday. How many people ask on air for other people to wish them happy birthday? Not very many. That's how we get it done on the Sportsline, ESPN Radio, ESPNRadio1027.com.
Do you have a crappy crapper? Maybe it's old enough to be a colonial commode. Maybe it's a yellow jaundiced John. Well, Ferguson Bath, Kitchen, and Lighting is giving away a new toilet valued at $400 plus $500 towards a new bathroom remodel to the lousiest loo in a residential house. Think you have the crummy commode it takes to win their game of porcelain thrones? Email pictures to Kimberly.Spears@Ferguson.com. Ferguson Bath, Kitchen, and Lighting. New showroom coming soon on Lovers Lane. Nope, oops, please. Save those for your accidental office reply alls.
Superhome Surplus offers the largest selection of in-stock cabinetry, but it's about to be even larger. They've been adding new cabinet and waterproof flooring lines. Design your home with the popular waterproof rigid core vinyl flooring. Shop cabinet brands like Wellborn, Waypoint, and Kith. Plus, their in-stock lines means no one has more to offer in kitchen and bath vanities. Superhome Surplus has the best selection at the best price. Superhome Surplus, your interior remodeling superstore. 2326 Russellville Road, Bowling Green.
It's important to make sure your family has a plan in case of an emergency. We talked to this family to see if each of them knew where to meet if they were not together when something happened.
If a natural disaster happened and we were outside the home, we would all meet at the park. That's our meeting point.
I'm meeting place at our neighbor's house because she is my mom's good friend.
We all have a meeting spot, which is a bus stop. Is your plan any better? To learn more about making an emergency plan for your family, go to ready.gov. This message brought to you by the U.S. Department of Homeland Security and the Ad Council.
Diversity, leadership, education. These are the values the Bowling Green Warren County NAACP strive for. The National Association for the Advancement of Colored People is the oldest civil rights organization in America, founded on tolerance and brotherhood for people of all races, genders, ages, and backgrounds. Our local branch is working hard to make our community a better place, but we need your help. To learn more, you can call us at 270-573-1909 or log on to our website, naacpbgwc.org.
From freezing cold takes to that 1 a.m. mistake, it's Deleted Tweets.
Welcome back to the Sportsline, ESPN Radio 102.7 FM, ESPN Radio 102.7.com. That, of course, is our Deleted Tweets segment where we give you our hottest takes that, you tweet at 2 a.m. and then it gets to 2:15 and you delete it before anybody sees it, but you still have it up here. You still have it up there in the knowledge brain. If you want to call in, give yours, 270-782-1945, 782-1945. My deleted tweet, and these are the best deleted tweets to make because they're the hardest and most impossible to prove wrong, or will take the longest to prove wrong. Antonio Brown, released by the Patriots, said he's enrolling back at Central Michigan. Drew Rosenhaus's agent says he still wants to play NFL football, even though Antonio Brown basically tweeted that he's doesn't ever want to play NFL football again after he thanked the New England Patriots for the opportunity, then proceeded to rant against the New England Patriots post that thanks tweet. Antonio Brown's never going to play in the NFL again. And it's for a couple of reasons. The main reason is nobody wants that in their locker room. I think the only people that can handle that in their locker room are people like the Patriots, who already have so many, faces and already have the biggest name in their locker room, Tom Brady. And that kind of, I think, can slow down a personality like Antonio Brown to a certain extent. But almost any other locker room in the NFL, that guy's not a fit. And, as much as I see the jokes about CTE and, the effect it may have had on Antonio Brown, right now it's all just jokes, CTE this, CTE that. But when you take a step back and really look at his personality, the way his life has changed, the way his personality has changed, and you combine that with what we've seen out of these SI articles detailing, debt repayment that he never repaid, owing doctors money, and then all of these sexual misconduct complaints that clearly have some sort of value, because as soon as the NFL got to investigate, the Patriots released him, which just makes me sick. I mean, we talk about, we do our due diligence when we sign these guys and, we blah, blah, blah. And we're right. You want to give guys the benefit of the doubt. But why did we create the commissioner's exempt list? Because you had guys that got involved in these situations where they're innocent until proven guilty, and then all of a sudden you're waiting for a big piece of evidence to come before, we really cut ties with them. But the commissioner exempt list was literally built for the purpose of, okay, this guy can get paid. He's not allowed to play. He's going to get paid, though, and we'll figure out what's really going on. So instead of putting Antonio Brown on the commissioner's exempt list for at least 1 week so they could start to conduct their investigation, they play him on an NFL football field. Granted, it probably didn't affect the outcome of the Patriots-Dolphins game, but how sick is that? That guy, that you immediately investigate, and you don't immediately investigate. That's the problem. You have to wait a week to investigate, and as soon as you open the investigation, you go, okay, it's deafening. This complaint is real. There's something going wrong here. We're going to have to investigate even further. That's when you get to release him. But no, we're going to play this guy. We're going to reward him for being a baby through the first preseason with the Raiders. We're going to reward him for all this helmet drama. And then finally, when a damning civil lawsuit, not just civil, But what could be considered a criminal lawsuit, it's not criminal because I believe it was years ago, so it has to be a civil lawsuit. We're going to let him go. Yeah, let's reward him. Let's play him. Why not? Why not play this guy in the NFL? It's sick, man. I just don't understand why we create these morals just to never use them. If you're innocent till proven guilty, that's fine. Get away with the commissioner's exempt list, never use it. But if you're going to use it, you need to use it every time and use it when you think it's most appropriate. And obviously, this past week was most appropriate. So that's my deleted tweet. AB, never in the NFL again. Let me know what you think at Garret Browning 5 on Twitter if you want to reach out to me there. Next Monday at 5, stay tuned at 6. Tyson Helton Coaches Show on Sam 100.7. This is the Sportsline on ESPN.